exchange rate from a macroeconomic standpoint for an economy such as Nigeria is the most important price. It drives inflation. It drives everything else. Inflation expectations. It drives your fiscal policy. It drives your foreign investment. It drives portfolio. Look at what has happened to the capital market. It's not by accident that the moment the foreign exchange, the exchange rate began to have some level of stability. Look at what has happened in that particular window, investor export window, in terms of the flows. How many billions of dollars have been transacted on that window within a couple of weeks and months? Just what exchange rate could do. You see, I always say to people, exchange rate is not a one silver bullet that cures all problems. But let me tell you, it's like American Express. You don't leave home without it. Borrowing. It's a big agenda. Very, very big agenda. It will require doing something on the revenue side. I did make a point that Nigerians don't pay taxes. That's a fact. It's a percentage of GDP, about 3 to 5%. We don't pay taxes. Congo, Tanzania, Kenya, many of these countries, the tax to GDP ratio, tax revenue to GDP ratio, 15, 18, 25%. And I will illustrate with a very practical experience I had. I was traveling in Congo, DRC. And a friend of mine took me to his farm. Next to his farm, as we stopped, was a peasant illiterate farmer. And he was asking this illiterate farmer about his experience, his cultivation, her cultivation, and what she was expecting. She explained, by what she explained in the local language, she had about 2 hectares of land. And she was explaining about it, she was planting corn. Her estimate was that she was going to produce between 6 to 8 metric tons of corn per hectare. This is an illiterate woman giving the estimate. Then she said something, which my colleague then interpreted to me later. She said, you know, because she was smiling when she said this, you know, the government will base their estimate of my tax based on 4 tons per hectare. So if I am able to make additional 6 to 8, those ones will be to my benefit. This is an illiterate peasant woman in the Democratic Republic of Congo, already doing calculations about her tax burden. Can you imagine? No, I leave it to you to think about. Fast forward to Nigeria, what that actually means. So it will require something on the revenue side. It will require action on the exchange rate level. It will have to deal also with the expenditure side. The recurrent expenditure is way out of this world and needs to be reined in significantly. And there are a lot of facts, these things everywhere that need to be cut off. And that's why I had cautioned about the ongoing negotiations about a new wage regime. That if you trigger off at the bottom, it will have to affect the relative wages all over. And when you adjust all of those, for those who have jobs, that discussion doesn't have the tens of millions of unemployed youths on the table, on the negotiating table, who are eager to just get something to do. Those who have the job want to negotiate that you use the entire revenue to pay them salary, okay? But those who don't have jobs want to go in even at much lower. So I am saying we need to put the interests of everybody and not aggravate the fiscal imbalance. So borrowing needs to be tamed, but it's a lot of hard work on the expenditure, on the revenue, on the exchange rate, on the entire macro thing. They all need to fit together. Because these unemployed youth, and let me end with this, I talked about a job plan. A job plan. We don't have the time to make this argument, but part of my hypothesis is that if you get to my meta-meso level architecture, much of this unemployment thing is going to continue to worsen insofar as Nigeria continues on this consumption-based structure. Unless we make a transition to a system driven by production. Recently, the National Assembly passed an act, an amendment. Local governments will now be guaranteed how they are going to collect their money directly from the center. We're not talking about what to produce. We're not talking about who is going to produce what. We're still talking about sharing. In a sharing environment, nobody thinks about production. And unless we are able to unleash the productive capacities of the units, in the First Republic, the regions even built farm settlements and employed people in agriculture. It's not because they love to do that, but because it was linked to their survival. In doing so, they also created jobs. Under the current system, why would anybody worry about creating jobs? Any government worry about creating jobs when you can walk up to Abuja every month and collect? Everybody is talking about my share of the resources. Restructuring the country to unleash the productive capacities of the lower units is a desideratum beyond having a job